Hello, I'm Rochelle, and this is the Genuine Realtor Show, which airs every Friday. Hamilton has attracted a lot of attention these last few years as the things that make this city special are coming to light. But is Hamilton right for you? I'm here with the pros and cons to help you decide. Ready? Let's go. Located on the western tip of Lake Ontario, Hamilton is the third largest city in the province and home to more than 770,000 people. Now, it is a big city sprawling out over 1,138 square kilometers, but it wasn't always so expansive. Getting the lay of the land and understanding the different areas can take time. Luckily, I have covered all of this in another episode, which I will link below for you to check out. Hamilton is quite the multifaceted city, with an urban core absolutely dripping in history, an assortment of different communities, all nestled into the stunning landscapes of the Niagara Escarpment, Lake Ontario, and Burlington Bay. Now, before we dive in, if you are enjoying this episode, please do give it a like. And if you are curious about Hamilton and want to learn more, be sure to subscribe and click that bell to turn on notifications so you never miss an upcoming episode. You can also grab a copy of my Hamilton Relocation Guide via the link in the description below if you're interested. Let's kick off with Hamilton's geographic location. Being under an hour to Toronto, as well as 45 minutes to Niagara Falls and the US border, or even an hour to the Kitchener-Waterloo corridor, Hamilton is certainly close to all the action. There are also two GO train stations here in Hamilton, with West Harbour GO running hourly trains to Union, opening the commuting corridor to downtown Toronto. With GO buses and multiple lines running from Union to the outlying cities, including plans for a Niagara line with a station coming to Stoney Creek, staying connected has never been easier. Now, I know I mentioned how large Hamilton is, but there are some aspects of that sprawl that fall into the con side of this discussion. There are certainly benefits to the many amalgamations of nearby towns over the years, but there are also notable downsides. To start, the large area requires public services like roads, fire and police stations, libraries, playgrounds, bus routes, waste collection, and so much more. When you have such a vast area to service, resources can end up being spread thin. The other downside to this sprawl is losing valuable farmland and the rich topsoil that is vital to feeding the people who live here. It is a balancing act, and it's adding pressure to the low inventory dilemma. Which brings us to the next con. The tax rates in Hamilton do run above average when looking at the provincial tax rates for other cities. But with that said, some of the cheapest property tax cities in the province have chosen to supplement their low rates by implementing a secondary land transfer tax. But here in Hamilton, you only pay land transfer tax once to the province when you buy. One thing's for sure, if you're looking for nature, you'll find lots of options here. We're talking 3,480 acres of municipal parks across 394 locations throughout the city, including some beautiful waterfront locations. There are another 50 school board parks, more than 49 kilometers of Hamilton-owned trails, and almost 7,500 acres of conservation green space across 13 conservation areas. There is a playlist sharing some of these amazing nature spaces in detail, like Confederation Park on the lake, which is home to Hamilton's longest beach and some of the best ice cream around. Of course, I will link the playlist below to make it easy for you to find. So this next pro is also a part of those green spaces, but it is such a unique feature to Hamilton that it deserves its own recognition. Of course, I'm talking about the Niagara Escarpment. Classified as a UNESCO World Biosphere Reserve, the mountain, as it's known locally, is a special ecosystem, and the reason why we are called the waterfall capital of the world. With more than 155 waterfalls inside the city limits, exploring the trails here is often met with a surprise cascade find. These substantial ones have had safe viewing platforms created, but many of the lesser-known ones are not fenced off. So if you are out exploring the escarpment, be safe and don't get too close to the cliff's edge. Now, the escarpment makes for stunning views, especially if you're heading across town, which brings us to our next pro, the express routes which help connect the communities. Traveling east-west across the city is often efficient with access roads carved into the side of the escarpment. During peak hours, they do get busy, but with 6 options connecting the lower city's urban design with the suburban-esque mountain, you've got options should you need them. There is also a corridor of highways that speed movement from the residential areas onto the main 403 and Queen Elizabeth Way highway system. These collector highways have slightly lower speeds, but Nikola Tesla Boulevard, the Red Hill Parkway, and the Lincoln Alexander Parkway, or LINK for short, certainly ease the pressure on the neighborhood streets. Another notable artery is the Main Street and King Street corridor. With timed lights, you can get from Stony Creek to McMaster in about 20 minutes by car. With the light rail transit getting the green light again, the east-west movement will be that much easier for those using transit options. The added bonus is the opportunity to upgrade the infrastructure downtown as they go. Now for the other side of that same coin, our next con are the timed lights. While the swift movement through the heart of the city offers a short-term advantage for motorists, there's something to be said about the impact it had on the downtown core businesses. There were other factors at play, but there's no denying the role it had in sending people flying by instead of slowly moving and taking in the different shops. The bonus here, though, is that the City of Hamilton's Urban Master Plan outlines the downtown of tomorrow, and the future is bright. With a heavy focus on pedestrian traffic, biking options, and easy public transit, paired with creating new communities with walkability in mind, downtown is poised for an entirely new era. I did cover the downtown in another episode as well, and will link it below in case you're interested in checking it out. Now, there is another aspect of the traffic flow that is often mentioned as a con. Of course, I'm referring to the one-way streets. While they certainly do help with the flow of traffic, they can be confusing and have been known to change directions overnight, often without warning, according to some Hamiltonians. It's not a huge deal, but just remember to keep on your toes when you're driving downtown so you don't startle yourself by accidentally going the wrong way. But of course, there is the pro that is the Sherman Access, which is usually a two-way street, but during peak hours, it becomes one way to efficiently move vehicles up and down the escarpment. Having access to some amazing amenities like libraries, the piers, playgrounds, arenas, golf courses, the stairs, and more, Hamilton offers a variety of amenities for locals to enjoy. Home to the Tiger Cats, Forge Football Club, and the Hamilton Bulldogs, sports enthusiasts are sure to find some fun with these teams, or you can head to nearby Toronto and Buffalo, New York for even more variety. As Hamilton hit a bit of a rut post-steel boom, the art scene became a driving force behind the city's renaissance and growth into what we know and love today. The independent galleries, venues for music, and local shops with a deep pride for Hamilton, with Theatre Aquarius, the Art Gallery of Hamilton, the Independents, and the festivals like Art Crawl and Super Crawl. There's a lot going on in Hamilton for you to explore. As the city's more rundown communities began to feel the benefits of this colorful new era, the people who made that happen were now feeling the effects of gentrification. The flip side to all of the growing popularity, culture, and diversity is that the cost to live here keeps climbing, especially when it comes to housing. So many of the very people who brought a new life to the city are slowly being pushed out. Hamilton has gained so much popularity that the prices here were skyrocketing even pre-pandemic. If you're looking for what housing prices look like right now, follow the link below to my website, which breaks it all down for you. Now, the upside of the gentrification trend is that the influx of people who are moving here are supporting local businesses, and it's attracting even more talent to the city. One of the most exciting trends on the new talent front are all of the chefs opening restaurants. If you consider yourself a foodie, you'll find some new favorites here. And when you do come across a great spot, please be sure to let me know so I can check it out too. Another aspect to this is all of the microbreweries that create local beers, ciders, and the like. Pair that with the food many serve and you've got a recipe for a great time. Okay, let's get dirty for a minute. Our next con is the fact that Hamilton has a wastewater and sewage dilemma. Here's the truth. When there is heavy rain, higher lake levels, repairs, or mechanical malfunctions, partially treated sewage and stormwater ends up in some of the lower creeks and harbor. This overflow and the factories that call the harbor home are the reasons why you should not swim in the water there. In fact, Bayfront Park, which offers scenic views and paths to stroll, has warnings not to use their beaches, as they have historically not passed the safe water testing. Luckily, you've got Hamilton Beach on the lake to enjoy, or even the multiple conservation areas nearby, like Christie Lake, Binbrook Conservation Area, or 50 Point, which is also on Lake Ontario. Now, there are 9 combined sewer overflow tanks in the lower city to help prevent these overflows. But with a $340 million upgrade to the Woodward plant, which is scheduled for completion in 2022, we can hopefully see less and less partially treated wastewater ending up in our watershed. For clarification, partially treated means they remove the solid material and add chemicals to remove the phosphorus before initiating the release. Handling sewage and wastewater has been an engineering feat throughout history, and our modern times are no different. As the facility upgrades continue, and with Hamilton's focus on improving the environment, here's hoping we see fewer bypasses in the years ahead. There's actually a lot locals can do to help as well. Only use toilets as intended, and do not dispose of garbage or cooking oils in your toilet. I'll link some videos below that the city created to share these small ways everyone can help do their part. Our next pro is in Glanbrook, and of course I am talking about the John C. Munro International Airport, which was once a military training airfield during World War II, but now serves as a major shipping hub and also has convenient passenger flights. So you may be able to save yourself a drive back into Toronto to use Pearson Airport. You can also find the Canadian Warplane Heritage Museum in 2 of the hangars here if you're interested in seeing some of the warplanes up close. Another pro are the employment opportunities. Hamilton is home to a diverse mix of businesses, from the film industry, to manufacturing, to retail, to healthcare, and more. A recent study conducted by Workforce Planning Hamilton found that across all sectors surveyed during the pandemic, 16 to 45% of companies were looking to hire 2 to 4 new employees in the next year, so we are still seeing healthy growth and opportunities. Another notable job sector here, and being the city's largest employer, is Hamilton Health Sciences, which consists of 7 hospitals and a cancer center. Recognized as one of the world's leading health science research organizations, and McMaster Children's Hospital, which was rated one of the best pediatric hospitals in the world, creates a dynamic organization that can accommodate patients from birth to passing and everything in between. Having 2 respected post-secondary school campuses here in Hamilton makes for an amazing pool for future employment. There are also a few satellite campuses as well, so if you're looking for education opportunities, you don't have to look far. Now, of course, there's a flip side, and that's the student housing, and, well, kind of the students in general. They can get a bit rowdy sometimes, and the pride of ownership of their property isn't always there. The neighborhoods nearby the schools, while highly desirable for other reasons, and in some cases are quite affluent neighborhoods with amazing amenities, have to share their space with these young adults. Now, when it comes to student housing itself, there are some homes with deplorable conditions for the students. So if you're looking to send your kids, please do your research. There are lots of great homes, you just want to make sure you find one of them. If you've ever heard someone call Hamilton Steel Town, they're referring to the steel manufacturing sector, which drove the economy here for decades. When the harbor was no longer landlocked and the canal was dug through the sandbar back in 1826, new shipping ports were created, and it was the perfect setup for the manufacturing sector to take off. With transportation by rail, ship, or road, Hamilton was on the map as an economic powerhouse. By the 1970s, the impact on the environment came into focus, and the city started to be judged on those factories you see as you take the highway over the Skyway Bridge. Now that you've watched this episode, you know that there's so much more to this city. but it's taken a lot of work to clean up the fallout, and some of the neighborhoods are impacted by their proximity to the industrial sector. It's just one more thing to keep in mind as you explore your options here in Hamilton. Okay, now I know I have touched on nature a lot already today, but there is one more place that deserves its own mention, and that is the Royal Botanical Gardens. With 5 unique gardens, more than 27 kilometers of nature trails, and the vital role the gardens play in maintaining the fragile Niagara Escarpment ecosystem, as well as protecting the health of our watershed, the RBG is so much more than just flowers. Created out of a vision for beautifying the city of Hamilton back in the 1930s, the RBG focuses on conservation, education, horticulture, research, and science. It's a crowning beauty in Hamilton's outdoor spaces and a must-visit for sure. If you want more on the Royal Botanical Gardens, I've covered it in a previous episode as well, and will link the video below. Now here in Hamilton, not every school is going to fit every student, so it's important that you pay attention to which school would fit your child best, and then try to buy within that school's catchment. Sometimes they will allow you to go outside of your school's zone, but there is no guarantee you'll be granted an exemption each year, as children inside the catchment take priority. Some things you can do to research a school and see if it's a good fit for you are looking at the Fraser Institute rankings for the standardized testing, but remember, these test results aren't foolproof and definitely aren't the full story. So you should consider asking in local forums or groups for first-hand experiences. Another option is calling the school and talking directly with the office administrator to get a feel for the environment. But that said, it's also a pro because there are some wonderful schools offering amazing experiences and even innovative advanced placement programs for students who are academically prepared. With 2 publicly funded boards, the Hamilton Wentworth District School Board offers 13 secondary schools and 86 elementary schools throughout the city. Additionally, Hamilton's Catholic Board offers 7 secondary schools and 49 elementary. There are also options for French immersion if you'd like to include a focus on developing their language skills. There are some private schools as well, so finding the right fit for your family may be a bit of a dance, but you're likely to find something that works. Another pro are the assortment of neighborhoods. No matter what your lifestyle preferences, there's a community for you here. Love the country? We've got you covered. Want city vistas from your yard? Sure thing. Urban core with awesome walkability? Not a problem. Historic luxury? Right this way. Condo high-rise? With character. New build communities? With mature landscaping? Set into the forest. Close to the water? Whatever you're looking for, the only limitation here in Hamilton in terms of lifestyle comes down to your budget. I do want to acknowledge that there is a growing population of at-risk and unhoused people being displaced as Hamilton enters this new phase. So the downtown core and some outlying areas are seeing an influx of encampments popping up. This is one of those things that requires truly affordable housing options and funding to help the most at-risk groups work through their circumstances to hopefully find their way. But let's end this episode on a positive note. The rich history here is one that dates back to pre-settlement, when the First Nations cultivated and cared for these truly stunning landscapes. From innovation to monumental battles, to a laundry list of firsts. Hamilton has a rich history worth exploring and the eye-candy architecture that adorns the city. Before you go, be sure to grab that Hamilton Relocation Guide and feel free to reach out with any questions. Thank you so much for touring Hamilton with me. Until next week, keep it genuine.